No one grows up wanting to be the weird kid. And I was definitely the weird kid. I liked the other kids in my school fine, but not many of them seemed to like me. I wasn't good at sports. I had all sorts of undiagnosed vision problems and allergies, so I was pretty lousy at catching balls, running bases, shooting hoops, you know. But I could see well enough to read books that were right in front of me, so I preferred to read. Books were my friend, which is cliché, but in my case it was true. Books were reliable, and in books you could be whatever you wanted to be. A tough private eye, a galaxy-conquering hero, an inhumanly strong monster, or just a kid with a lot of friends. But the problem with having books as your main friends is that you still have to deal with real people. So I still wondered why they couldn't see past the pudgy, bespectacled weirdo that sat next to them in class. I thought I was cool. I was on our academic decathlon team 3 years in a row, for goodness sake. Wasn't that cool? And as much as my parents tried to cheer me up and encourage me, I think they knew what I was going through. In middle school, for example, a girl called my house to ask me out. My dad answered the phone. He didn't even tell me about it until years later, because at the time, he thought it was just someone trying to play a prank on me. The thing was, I still had hope that maybe at least one girl would understand me and like me. I went to middle school dance after middle school dance, hanging out with the other boys along the wall, trying to work up the courage to talk to a girl. And on Valentine's Day in 6th grade, I was going to ask the girl I had the biggest crush on to dance. Her name was Laurel Harris, and she was the most beautiful girl in 6th grade. She's still beautiful. She's in the national Broadway tour of Evita, understudying the role of Eva Perón, just to give you an idea. She performed on the Tonys broadcast in 2012. So, no, there's no Schadenfreude coming up, I'm afraid. She's as beautiful and talented as ever. Even in 6th grade, she was singing and doing theater. We shared a couple of classes, and she rode the same bus I did, so there were lots of chances for me to have awkward conversations with her, or just generally crush on her. But in addition to being talented and beautiful, she was also nice and sweet, and she was nice to me. So, in February that year, I resolved I was going to ask her to dance with me. Of course, I was still this nervous, awkward little kid. When my mom dropped me off from the minivan in the middle school parking lot, I was wearing a poor-fitting button-down shirt tucked into some khakis that didn't even come down to my ankles. That was the snazziest outfit I had. And I felt like Beau Brummel. And yes, even in 6th grade, I made reference to 19th century aristocrats the way other kids quoted South Park. As was the unofficial tradition for most middle school social occasions, the boys and girls started out on opposite sides of the gym, eyeing each other like they were on a Discovery Channel nature special, and the opposite sex were some dangerous new species with unknown abilities. But slowly, boys started talking to girls, and slowly boys and girls started dancing together. But I was still very nervous, afraid to ask Laurel to dance, and also, at the same time, afraid that she was going to somehow disappear, as if our middle school's shoddy gym was actually a labyrinth commissioned by King Minos himself. So I kept following her and her friends at what, to a 12 or 13-year-old, seemed like a discreet distance. And with each song that went by, I tried to psych myself up to ask her the next time. No, I don't want a fast song. I'll wait for a slow one. No, not this slow song. I'll wait until they play Savage Garden, because that's how I love her. Truly, madly, deeply. Now you understand the song, and let this off. After about half an hour, Aaron, who was friends with Laurel and he rode our bus, came up to me. He was this bratty, preteen pseudo-punk with spiky hair. He was cool because he listened to The Offspring. They used curse words in their songs, and they were edgy. Aaron said, "Hey man, Laurel wants you to stop following her around. You're kind of creeping her out." Oh. Okay. In retrospect, I can totally understand how creepy or weird I must have seemed, but I honestly didn't know any better. I didn't get angry. I just left the gym to go hide in the bathroom and cry. Now, middle school dances barely lasted 2 hours, so they're really actually short, but that night I thought the dance would last until I was in high school. And when you're too young to drive, you have to wait for your parents to pick you up at the end of the dance. It took all I had not to cry in front of anyone. When my mom finally picked me up in the middle school parking lot, I climbed into the minivan and sobbed out my heartbreak. Usually when I got home after a romantic disappointment, my mom would fix me an ice cream cone and I would talk to her until I felt better, but this time I didn't want any ice cream. I just ran up to my room, put on the Beatles Yesterday, and cried until I didn't have any tears left. Now, like anyone that's ever lived, I've had a lot of heartbreak. But if you had to ask me which moment hurt the most, it was that moment on the dance floor in a middle school gym, feeling like I was just too weird to love. But the thing is, I eventually did find someone who loves me just the way I am. And I wish I could tell my middle school self that not only are we all a little weird, but if someone really loves you, really, truly loves you, they will love you for all your weirdness, not in spite of it.